in terms of entertainment.
Well, this is probably one of the very, very few times we would be saying this, but wrestling looked better than mixed martial arts yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah. While me and Nigel were thoroughly enjoyed with WrestleMania, with MMA though, the main event at least, we were kind of like, man,
Yeah,
this
they definitely put on a better show in the WWE last night. That like there were a couple fights on that card that were actually kind of cool. You know, it was interesting to watch. Like Mackenzie Dern did her thing, but the main event was
it was
lackluster.
dry. It was
Really?
dreadful.
Really, I didn't have a chance to catch the main event. I watched some of like the highlights, but I know because Kevin Holland, he talks a lot. Like Holland, he talks a lot. He talks a lot. So I'm surprised that like his performance was just bad, wasn't that great because he still won. He came out the winner of that match, right?
No,
Oh,
no,
he
he
lost.
He lost.
he lost. Yeah,
Oh,
he
God.
lost. He
He
got
did.
hit.
This is what it
Yeah,
is.
he lost all 5 rounds, and
Oh wow.
the it was crazy because like on every time the guys were standing up and they were trading strikes, Kevin was clearly the better fighter on the feet. He rocked them a few times. He was just much quicker and more precise with his striking. But Marvin Vettori had the grappling advantage. He had the wrestling advantage. He used his wrestling. He used a little bit of ground per pound.
His
Ground
size.
ground and pound. Excuse me. Yes, his size. He did position over submission, which is a dope hearing, by the way. But meaning like, hey, he focused more on advancing positions and all that to stop the referee from standing both fighters up. Yeah. So it was good, you know. And Kevin Holland was doing his best because he kept on getting up. He threatened him with a guillotine a couple times.
Yeah.
It's just that wrestling is obvious weakness, and Marvin Vettori exposed it. So I mean, good on Marvin Vettori doing what he needed to do for a win, but I was not impressed with the performance at all because if he fought somebody who could wrestle, he wasn't doing that to them. So the fact that he took advantage, good on him, because that's the name of the game. You have to win. But but the main event, it was just not a good main event for me. And he's calling out Israel Adesanya, and people are not feeling it. They're saying, "Hey, you're not ready for that rematch." So.
Because in the fight, he didn't really look impressive. He did what he needed to do to win, and shouts out to him for that, you know? But, like, when he was on the feet, he was getting rocked a few times. And, like, yeah, he was kind of, like, hanging in there with him sometimes. But Kevin Holland, if he knew how to defend a takedown just a little bit more, that fight would have been... He might have finished him if they were on their feet a little longer. But he just knew how to, you know, sway away from him. Now, that kind of made the flow of the fight a little boring, because like he essentially worked him and not really impressively at that. It wasn't like, you know, GSP domination. It was like, all right, this guy's doing enough. Even though he did have him in a few like bad positions where he like kind of stacked him up and like was beating on him a little bit, I think in the second round. But I mean, like for the most part, it was just like, hey, good for you for winning, but you need to get like one more tough one in before you step up to Izzy.
Yeah.
So you said that was a 5-round fight, correct?
Yeah, it was 5 rounds.
Because I know it wasn't for a title or anything. So, like, do you feel as though... Because I know that's, like, a new format that the UFC is trying to introduce. So, do you think with the performance like that last night, that would have been better if it would have just been a 3rd-round fight then?
I don't know, man, because, like, I think he still would have done the same thing. Because I think in the very first round, he probably... It looked like right away, like, okay, I should not be trying to trade punches with this guy because I'm on the losing end of these exchanges. Right. And he just knew like, hey, but I could take him down, use my grappling, and I'm able to hold some positions. And that's exactly what he did. And that's what won him the fight. I don't think if it was 3 rounds or 5 rounds or 12 rounds, it would have made a difference because it was his glaring weakness. Hey, this guy can't stop takedowns. And when he does get off his back, he can't stop chain wrestling. And that's what happened.
I think that it's good to have 5-round main events because I think at the end of the day, like it just shows that, hey, these fighters are, you know, stepping up and meeting that like main event championship level that they have. Because at the end of the day, like that's what they're all fighting towards, unless they're just trying to get, you know, paid, then I guess that's, you know, something different. But I mean, like, it just shows that they're capable of being the main event and, you know, actually carrying that pace. Like, I think when they book like more, you know, heavyweight main events, they're not looking for those fights to go all 5 rounds. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
but I think for the most part, they're trying to book people who are gonna show up and not be like extremely tired in a 5-round fight.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be leading up to more 5-round co-main events like the Diaz Edwards thing, kind of like in boxing. Just because you're not the main event doesn't mean you can't do a 12-round fight or a 10-round fight. So I think we might start to see that more into MMA. Yeah, you know, but I think it's pretty dope